Moving on to topic number 3, we're sticking with the NFL. And Brandon, a lot of injuries right now in the NFL. A lot of players who, you think they're going to be out a week, and then all of a sudden they show up on IR. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson's already been out for a while. Now Zach Wilson, even though the team is struggling, he's a rookie, he's going to go on IR for at least 3 weeks. But then you even have like Christian McCaffrey, who still isn't back. There's several guys that are on either IR or have been out for multiple weeks now. And they're stars. They're not just kind of bit players in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the injury bug is hitting kind of early here for some teams. And for other teams, it might not be several players, but it's their major star, like Christian McCaffrey. I'll tell you what, look at those Carolina Panthers. Since Christian McCaffrey got hurt, they've been on an absolute slide these last 4 games, and maybe even halfway through that game when he got hurt. So it clearly proves about how much of a player he is and how big he is for that Carolina team if he could be healthy and stay healthy and be on the field. But I think, the bigger stories are these quarterbacks being hurt, and I think that hurts some of these teams even more. I think the Seattle Seahawks right now, like, people are questioning, should Pete Carroll be fired because they're having such a rough start? But I think it's because they don't have Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is clearly still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, one of the most reliable. And I'm talking, this guy is a soldier. He has really rarely missed a game. And I believe this is the first stint in his career that he's missing like several games in a row. And it's really hurting the Seattle Seahawks. So I've got to think that's a big story there, having Russell Wilson out. But then this Baker Mayfield story, I know Case Keenum has played pretty good and got the win the other night. And people are saying that maybe the Browns are just as good. And I don't know. I think that's a tough question. Are the Browns just as good? I do think Baker Mayfield has a lot of talent. I think he can move the pocket. And I especially think in the NFL nowadays, that's huge. So I don't know. I think the Browns are a little better with Baker Mayfield. So having him out, the confidence and the swagger that I think Baker Mayfield brings, I don't think people give him enough credit for that and how that can transition in a team sport as well to his teammates and helping them play as well, and the confidence that he brings with them. But I think also this Zach Wilson injury, man, tough to see it happen against obviously the Patriots. Matthew Judon has been an absolute nightmare for quarterbacks so far this season. We obviously love it as a Patriots fans, but I hated seeing Zach Wilson get hurt there on that play. And it was kind of a freak play, honestly. Like, Judon kind of just dragged him down. I really didn't see much with the knee getting twisted or bent in an awkward direction. But, Wilson didn't get up after that point, and now it's come to see that it is a big injury. And I do think they're obviously going to wait and play it safe with him, as they should. He's their number 1 pick, and we're talking about that being their franchise going forward. So I think that is the biggest story right now for a struggling New York Jets team to go to a backup quarterback that has even less experience than your rookie starting quarterback. That's a huge, huge story for a team that's struggling and is going to probably continue to struggle until they can at least get Zach Wilson back and try to build up some momentum with their rookie QB.
Yeah, and with the Jets, too, you don't want to just throw him back out there if he's not 100% healthy, because your offensive line isn't great, especially because I believe Mekhi Becton's out I don't know if he's out for the entire season, but he's definitely banged up. I don't know when he's going to be coming back for the Jets either. He got hurt, I believe, in the first game against the Patriots that the Jets played. So you're not going to throw him out there right away. But then a couple more injuries, too. I mean, Jonathan Jones, an injury for the Pats. He's now done for the year. That's a big injury for them. Number one, because we mentioned how much, they're going to miss Stephon Gilmore as a corner. Jonathan Jones is a slot corner, but he's one of the best slot corners in the NFL. I mean, Jonathan Jones is very good at that particular cornerback position. You lose him, your depth chart weakens for the Pats, and then you have to bring in somebody else to play slot corner who hasn't gotten a lot of time with them. So that's going to be tough, especially because every team now seems to have 2 or 3 really good receivers, or a couple of tight ends, or a couple of weapons in the passing game. And you need a guy to be able to cover guys in the slot. And it's a tough job, and Jones did it really well. The other thing, too, is look at Devontae Adams and Lazard with Green Bay. They just got on the COVID list. So we'll see how long they stay on it, how many negative tests they have before Sunday. So we'll see how long they're out as well. So you're just, you got injuries, and now you got the COVID thing that's still part of the NFL season like it was last year. A little different this year, but still, it is still something that can kind of screw up your week, because we think about guys just showing up for the game, but the whole week is about practicing for the upcoming game, tailoring your game plan to the team that you're playing. So when that gets thrown into the mix where guys aren't there for 2 or 3 days, you're missing all that install throughout the week. I mean, Brandon, you're a coach, you know that better than I do, is that, you miss install in a day or two and you're going to be kind of spinning your head come Sunday. So that going on too is really tough for these teams. So it'll be interesting. So. Very good question there from Jabbar. What is that? 760, I believe. He says, what's up with Deshaun Watson? And just to add to injuries now, of course, there's the off-field situation with Deshaun Watson. I think the biggest thing right now is the one team that he's allowed the Texans he said he has a no-trade clause. So he's only said that only the Dolphins are the team that he wants to go to. Now, the Dolphins have some ammunition to trade, but, it's such a weird situation, Brennan, where Watson just doesn't – you don't know what his future is going to hold. You don't know what's going to happen, if he's going to play it all this year, if he's going to get suspended at the end of the year, if he's going to get suspended mid-season, is he going to get suspended before next season? I mean, Deflategate with Brady kind of dragged on for a couple of years before they actually suspended him 4 games. Never mind what's going on with Watson. So this could be a huge problem down the road. And if you're Miami, the rumors are that they don't love Tua. So do you trade Tua and a bunch of draft picks for Watson, even though you don't know what Watson's future is going to look like?
Yeah, I do quickly, but hold on. I want to go back to Devontae Adams and Lazard. They play on Thursday night. So the chances of them
right. Yeah, my fault.
Yeah, the chances of them getting the 2 negative tests are really not happening. I specifically know that because Devontae Adams is one of my wide receivers in fantasy football right now, and he's been tearing it up.
Yeah,
Absolutely love having him out there. The guy gets at least 10 targets minimum a game, and it's great to see. So I don't think he's going to play this week, sadly. But, that is definitely a story that you could put in here as far as the injuries go. COVID sidelines. But quickly with the Deshaun Watson thing, there's been a lot of, rumors still flowing around, and they're getting even bigger because the trade deadline is approaching, coming up next week, I believe. And so the 2 teams I'm still hearing are obviously, like you said, the Miami Dolphins and also the Carolina Panthers. But rumor also has it that the Carolina Panthers have just recently backed out of that lottery per se to get Deshaun Watson, which I don't know why they would if they're not really sold on Sam Darnold, who they just, traded for from the Jets. And clearly they've been on a slide recently without McCaffrey, like we just talked about. So I think if I'm the Carolina Panthers, I think if the price is right, I'm still looking to get in there and possibly snag Deshaun Watson. If I'm the Miami Dolphins, I think I pull the move. If I'm not, committed to Tua for a long term, I pull the move and I go and get him. But another team I quickly want to bring up for Deshaun Watson is the Denver Broncos. I think the Denver Broncos should still be in the conversation. That was one of the teams that Deshaun Watson had been rumored that he would get traded to and would remove that trade clause to go there. I think, it hasn't been good out there with obviously Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater so far this season. So I think they should put themselves in the mix as well. And to quickly answer your question is, would I still look to draft him even with all these things hanging over his head and a potential suspension coming down the line? And the answer is yes. I definitely would look to trade for him and get him on my roster if the price was right. And the price is going to be high for this guy because he's a young star quarterback. He's still got a lot of years left. And that's why I would go and get him, because even after a 4-game suspension, I'm still going to have 7, 8, maybe 10 years left with this guy if I play things out right. And I mean, there's still a lot of questions about these, allegations. Are they true? What's going to happen with them? What's going to happen with these civil lawsuits? So still a lot of questions rumored and flying around there, but undeniably, if I'm a GM, I pull the trigger. I go and get Deshaun Watson on my team.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think it depends on the team too. I mean, Miami right now, are you looking at this season? Or are you looking at, 2 or 3 seasons down the road? And if you're not, it depends on how they feel about Tua. They might be saying right now, he's not our franchise quarterback. If they think there's a smidgen of hope that he's the franchise quarterback, then I don't know if I make the trade. If you think, he's just not the guy, he might be solid. He might be a solid player who plays in the NFL for 10 years. You can still trade him. If you don't think he's the franchise guy, then you go out and you try to get Deshaun Watson. Because this year's quarterback class is not great either in the draft coming up. So, you're probably not going to get that guy, this year in the draft, and you're probably not going to be the worst team either. You might be up there. Miami isn't looking good right now, but they're in the same division as the Jets, and the Lions still haven't won a game. So, there's a good chance they're probably not going to get the first or even a top 3 pick. So, I would probably do it if I don't think that Tua is the guy. So it'll be interesting to see.
I mean, even if we just compare those two, Tua on the field versus Deshaun Watson, I've got to go with Deshaun Watson. I think he's a much better player than Tua. So I would pull the trigger right there. Even if I was committed being like, hey, Tua can be our guy in the future. Well, this guy's better and he could still be our guy in the future. He's almost just as young. So I think that's huge going forward. But I'll tell you what, it's a question that's going to get answered here because the trade deadline looms. So will he get traded or will he just sit out for the rest of the season? So it's something that we will definitely be covering here on Comeback Sports. But let's rock on and roll on to topic number 4.